someone will walk away, 2 men will walk away with $1 million in the Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup. Someone's going to walk away with the NWA World Heavyweight title. Will it be this man? Again.
Woo! Tell it like it is, girls. Who's the damnedest man you ever met in your entire life? Put that camera on that side one time. Put it up one time. Rick. Woo! And I want the whole world to know I got my Learjet sitting right out there at Pete's Speedy Cab. In just about 20 minutes, I'm going to ease down the steps, Ted Turner by my side, get my limousine, ride on 85, get my Learjet, woo, and take off to New Orleans. You got it, New Orleans. If you're watching right now, I'm 42,000 feet easing on in. Because in several hours, woo, I'm going to walk that aisle. Looking as only the nature boy can look. Oh, it's so fine. I'm not even going to tell you. It's going to be Janie on my left and Mary on my right. But I'm not telling any of you which one of my robes I'm wearing till I get there tonight. The bottom line is, Big Dust, if you got the butterflies, don't feel bad. You got to wrestle the world champion. And in New Orleans tonight, the joint's going to be packed. And I don't do no job in front of 70,000 people. I walk down that aisle, and I take care of it. Who is only Slick Rick there? And then, one more public announcement after I beat up Dusty Rhodes. I'm going to ease across the street to the High Regency and drinks all the champagne, anything you want is on the world check. So girls, keep in mind, it's all a cart, first come, first serve. Big Dust, I'm coming, Daddy. Woo! Get ready, the world champion, styling and profiling. Woo!
Tonight, New Orleans on fire. One of the main reasons, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes and Baby Doll coming to town, trying to get that World Heavyweight title.
You know, I think all the talk is over. Ric Flair was just out here once again, as we said, week in and week out. Ric Flair said that tonight he gonna have Rosie on his left and Mary on his right, and Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, gonna be right in the middle. Then he went on record and stated at the Hyatt Regency, he say, after it's all over, all the champagne, all the drinks, all the food, everything's on the world's heavyweight champion. He has no right coming on television and flaunting my credit card around, because by the time that comes around, I will be the world's heavyweight champion in New Orleans, Louisiana. He has no business at all saying what he said, what kind of robe he's going to wear. I don't care what kind of robe you're going to wear. I don't care what kind of plane you're going to fly in. I don't care how many times you come out here and talk about Space Mountain. Nobody really cares about Space Mountain. This is professional wrestling, Ric Flair. You're not out here on a game show, you understand? You're not out here on a game show. It's time you picked up your tempo just a little bit. Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. I don't do no job in front of 70,000 people either. So where we at now? Where we at now? It's very simple. We've talked for weeks about everybody but Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, and Ric Flair. This is what it is all about. This is where it's at, Flair. Nothing else goes around this profession than that. So nobody cares about your robes, your cars, your limousines, your credit cards, and your party at the Hyatt Regency. Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. 70,000 people. We at a standstill here now. Now then, the world's title comes to me, then I'll be out here buying people champagne and Baby Doll new clothes, because New Orleans gonna be the...
Place to be Nation Wrestling. Welcome to episode number 39 of NWA Crock and Roll. I am your host, Sean Kidd, and we are on our third part of April 1986. We are one episode away from starting our Crockett Cup journey with round one, but we do have to knock out a couple things here on this episode. So I'm pretty happy. Number 40, right on with Crockett Cup. So 39 is kind of the bridge between of, our final journey there. So before we start, up first, I would like to introduce Mr. Colin McDougall. Colin, how are you tonight?
Good evening, Sean. I'm wonderful. Thank you very much for asking. How are you?
I am well. Just kind of excited as of this recording, getting ready to head out to Dallas for some fun and festivities.
Yes, I will be safely this side of the pond, away from the debauchery that's going to be happening in Dallas. No doubt we'll get a running commentary though, and I'll pity anybody that has to deal with the two of you this week.
Well, you might even get a call in like we did last year. So it's just Shiflett's with me, so we might do a call in on the stream if you are doing that this year. So you might hear from us.
Yeah, certainly doing that this year.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Yep. So Colin, good to have you. And my next co-host is Scott Shiflett. Scott, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here with you guys. Who knows? After Mania Weekend, this might be the last time you hear me on a podcast. We just don't know what's going to happen. Callum, just be ready for bail money. I don't know, but I'm happy to talk about some April of '86 Crockett tonight.
Well, the good news is we record 2 episodes at one time, so you'll at least minimum be heard at least one more time.
Yes.
So we should be in good shape there.
As I'm getting all my pounds and pennies together, taking it down to get it exchanged for dollars to see how much I can scrape together to get the two of you out of jail.
Hey, I kept one individual who will remain nameless out of jail last year. You should be okay, Schiff.
Sounds good to me. I trust you. That's why I came.
Yeah, but looking forward to meeting Schiff in person. It'll be the first time we've ever met, and obviously big wrestling week here as of this recording. But tonight we are going to talk some April '86 Crockett. Obviously he's missed. Dr. G is not here tonight. Will not be here for the next 2 episodes. Has some real life stuff come up. Honestly, he's just out looking for good hands for the NWA 2022 because Trevor Murdoch just not cutting the mustard anymore. So I wish Dr. G well on that journey. And hopefully we look back to hearing him back here for the next 2 parts of when we do the 2 parts. When we do the semifinals and finals for the Crockett Cup. So hopefully he'll be back for that. So with that, before we jump in, I would also like to be remiss if I didn't bring up 2 deaths, one that we just found out about today and one that happened a few weeks back as of this recording. Scott Hall and then Rocky King, Rocky King we have talked about on this podcast before in his short allegiance with one Jimmy Valiant with the Midnight Express feud when they were the Street People. So let's start off with Scott Hall first. We didn't really talk about Scott Hall too much on this podcast. He actually, if you remember, we had Danny Spivey earlier on where he was doing the Starship gimmick. So he was actually in that tag team with Danny Spivey as American Starship. By the time we ramped up and started doing this pod, Hall had already left and went on to the AWA where he went on to bigger and better things as a tag team champion over there, which in full disclosure, we might have a match from him and Kurt Hennig in a few weeks or in a few episodes as we start doing a little bit of a new feature on this podcast. But Column, obviously, Scott Hall, big deal. Kind of passed our timeline a little bit in what we're talking about. But, Razor Ramon, he's the AWA Tag Team Champion. And, of course, probably the most famous thing of his time was the NWO with him and Nash going into WCW. So, any thoughts on the passing of Scott Hall?
Many. Probably a bit too many to take up. We would probably take up the whole podcast if we went through the whole thing because the guy was Scott Hall was so influential. As you say, he had Razor and obviously the NWO, and I don't think it's going overboard to say that Scott Hall just making one 92nd appearance on Monday Nitro in 1996 changed wrestling as we know it today. He obviously had the ladder match with Shawn, which is still sort of has shaped how wrestling is today as well. So not very many people have such an influence as Scott Hall. the guy just you couldn't not be drawn to Scott Hall when he came on the when he came on the telly. It was a shock to hear after everything he'd been through as well, for him to overcome everything he had to this point and something as like going through like complications from surgery. It doesn't seem right. After everything he'd overcome, so it was a real shock and a gut punch when you heard the condition he was in.
Yep. So definitely, I think you bring up a good point for him to go out the way he did based on what his history was. And, you hear the sad kind of last days of what happened to him. It sounds like he had a relapse and then just kind of went south from there with the hip and just, definitely sad. Before I move on to Scott, anything you would like to say about one Rocky King?
Yeah, Rocky King was one of the first. Obviously, he came along when we were first in starting the podcast, and when you put it in our chat today, to see that he'd only started wrestling in 1985 completely took me aback, because we saw him. So when would the Street People would have been summer of 1985?
Yeah, I believe it was summer. Yeah, it was summer, and then it didn't last very long because then they swapped it out, and that's when they did the whole Garvin Atlanta Lively thing, and that kind of started. I think there was an angle where the Midnight Express actually attacked Rocky King, and that's when it all happened. So
it was one of the Midnight Express's first appearances, and then Valiant came out to save him. But and what we saw of him, I was quite shocked to see that he'd only started professionally in 1985, because he was you thought he was trademark Dr. G. You thought he was a good hand. When you saw him, but to find out that he'd only just started at it, I mean, he got into a rhythm really quickly, and it's that was a shock to see. So he's obviously had the natural talent for it, and another sad loss.
Yep, and he also had a good run too. He was actually a manager with the Freebirds. If you remember, he was at Starrcade 1990. Little Richard Marley, I guess, was his name. So I don't know if you guys recall that, but also remember the Freebirds. So he had a really good run there with the NWA, and probably one of the more famous quote unquote jobbers, not to be disrespectful, because you had the Denny Browns, you had the Italian Stallions, you had so basically he was in that group like Mike Jackson that, on occasion they would get a really good run with the main event talent. 9 times out of 10 they would end up losing, but they could put on a really good match. So so definitely sad to hear about him. Scott, I'll go to you first about Scott Hall, and then Rocky King. I don't know how much you know about Rocky King because you came on a little late in that, but what are your thoughts on both?
Both are sad losses. Anytime we have a loss of a life. I'll start with Scott Hall. He's remembered as one of the best because he is. He changed. With the ladder matches with HBK at WrestleMania 10, and that now then every match after that, I'm sure that introduced the ladder match basically to the worldwide wrestling audience, and then with the NWO, he started the war, quote unquote, between we already had the Monday Night War at the start, but like this kick-started, it made it think that I remember thinking as a little kid, oh my God, Razor Ramon's in WCW, which is exactly what they wanted. And, he was in the Wolfpack, which, that was my first wrestling shirt was my second wrestling shirt was a red and black NWO Wolfpack t-shirt. Hell of a career. He had his struggles that were documented many times. I remember this ESPN doc where they did like a short 30 for 30, like short, like 15-minute about him, and it's just heartbreaking. It's where I learned that he had actually killed someone when he was bartending, when he was a bouncer. Some guy tried to they got in a fight, and the guy pulled a gun, and they fought over the gun, and Scott Hall shot him, and he was able, they didn't press charges because it was what's the word I'm looking for, Sean?
What, that he was innocent?
Self-defense.
Self-defense. Thank you, Callum.
Yep.
Yeah, it was self-defense, and they alluded to that. I remember that, that's what he thought about, and that was why he was drinking so much. And I remember in the mid 2000s where we had that rash of just like, it felt like all the wrestlers from our childhoods was just dying like every 6 or 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And you always thought it was going to be his name. And thankfully, he was able to, quote unquote, redeem himself. He was in that great documentary, The Rebuilding of Jake the Snake Roberts, which in my mind, it should have been the rebuilding of Jake the Snake and Scott Hall, because like the whole movie is just about them two. And, to see Scott turn himself around, he was able to get in the Hall of Fame twice, which we already knew he was a Hall of Fame talent. But, with him saying, bad guys don't last, but bad guys do, like that was one of the things I remember us seeing a bunch of people when he was like in the hospital, and, woke up to that Sunday morning with Kevin Nash saying they're waiting for the family to get there before they take him off life support. And then he was off life support for a couple of hours before he passed. But I was just glad he was able to turn his life around. He was always going to have those demons, but, at least he got to see his children grow up. And, I'll always remember him as one of the best wrestlers. And it kicked off probably one of the best eras of wrestling for us that made a lifelong fan out of me. I was already a fan, but, I'm still kicking here 30 some years later.
Awesome. Yes. And what about any thoughts on Rocky King?
Yeah, Rocky King, the only time I knew him was when he was with the Freebirds, and actually with the Dudes with Attitude, and that little group, that Sting, like JYD, the Steiners, and Paul Orndorff. That's the only time I really knew him. But it sounds like he had a hell of a career. From the article that you shared with us, Sean, where he was actually homeless, carrying the wrestlers' bags in, and they taught him to wrestle. That's a hell of a story right there. And, he might not have had like the fame and fortune, but damn, like if you're able to pull yourself out by the bootstraps, that's just amazing. And
yeah,
thoughts go out to loved ones of both Scott Hall and Rocky King.
Yeah, so a big loss was two big losses actually. Scott Hall, I don't know what else I can add that you guys haven't already said. Iconic, probably one of the most iconic wrestlers never to win an official world heavyweight title. You hear them all always on this list. Rough life, but definitely gave us hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of entertainment that we can all remember, even through the Impact Pod that I do. We got a lot of great moments with him, made us laugh. Rocky King, we didn't get to experience a whole lot of them, but at least we did get a little snippet. He got his time in the sun with that angle with the Freebirds as their manager or valet or whatever you call it, and of course the Midnight Express feud with the Valiant. So rest in peace to both those gentlemen. It seems like the longer we do this pod, we always bring up a lot of Crockett guys have passed away since we started this pod, and now Scott Hall. So rest in peace to both of them. So. So let's switch gears a little bit, kind of get out off the somber note, and let's start talking about April of 1986, our third part of April. And honestly, we haven't gotten that far, guys, because a lot happens in a short amount of time. So to start, we will kick off with our title rundown. So world champion is still Ric Flair. The U.S. champion is still Magnum TA. The TV champion is Arn Anderson. The national champion is Tully Blanchard. Mid-Atlantic champion is Black Bart. The tag team champions are Midnight Express. The six-mans are the Russians and Bayer von Raschke. The junior heavyweight champion is one Denny Brown. So we are going to start. Last episode, we talked about April 12th. Well, we still have one part of April 12th to close out, and it is a house show from Charlotte, North Carolina, I believe. So unfortunately for one Mr. McDougal, I'm curious how this will go tonight, because we have a lot of Wahoo tonight. So it should be probably the most Wahoo. Yeah, probably the most Wahoo we've had on any episode of this pod, so it should be a little bit of fun, so we'll see. So our first match in this house show is Tully Blanchard and Ric Flair versus Dusty and Wahoo in a strap match. So to start, the heels open up hot on the faces, beating them and choking them with the straps. Tully whips Wahoo and Dusty, but then faces fire back with chops and punches. Wahoo at one point whips Tully in the face, which looked pretty savage. And at this point, even though it's kind of blurry, you can see Dusty is bleeding. There's a nice looking spot where Terry uses a strap to yank Wahoo into the ring post. Wahoo yanks Tully down from the outside with the strap as he goes after Dusty and throws him into the ring post. Flair is now bleeding from the Dusty shots. Wahoo pulls Tully off the top rope by the strap. Dusty gets a figure four on Flair. Wahoo keeps pulling Tully into chops by the strap, which I thought was a really cool visual as he just cuts pulling him in and chopping the shit out of him. Tully goes up top to break the figure four, but Wahoo yanks Tully down into the chop for three. Flair is very angry in the ring. Faces come back in and beat the heels up, including Dusty throwing JJ into a Wahoo chop. Regardless of how you feel about Wahoo, I thought this is a really great brawl. I wish they had a little bit of a clearer picture. And the crowd was super hot, and I also loved the strap shots. So thought it was looked pretty stiff. So I actually went 3 1/4 on this. This is my kind of match. And Scott, I will go to you first. What did you think of this match?
Yeah, Sean, I really enjoyed this match too. I like how the bull rope was more used as a weapon this time. I mean, I know they were still tied together, but like we had like them just beating each other with it. Also liked how Jimmy Garvin hit Wahoo in the back before the match started. That's a nice little continuation of their feud.
Yep.
And like, and Tully was just amazing. He was bumping like no other for Wahoo in this. And I liked how Tully threw Wahoo into the post via the rope. I thought that was really nice. He like pulled him into it, and it's a basic thing. Like we see it with all the time in these matches, but I just love that spot. And I like how Tully was about to save Flair, and Wahoo just pulled on the strap, and like Tully just flies off, and I just loved it. I was a little bit lower than you. I went 2 3/4. Also liked at the very end when Dusty, hits the bionic elbows on Flair. So we're definitely setting the stage for what's going to happen shortly.
Absolutely. And it's funny. I think I go a little bit higher on these house shows, especially when they put in an effort. Like I could totally see why you put 2 3 1/4. But for me, I think about the amount of house shows I've been to and the quality of match you get. This one and a lot of the other ones we've seen on this pod are, just above what a typical house show is for us, I think. So that's why I think I might go a little higher on the house shows. But I totally respect the 2 3/4 on that one for sure. All right, Colin, how about you?
Yeah, it was a well start to the match. And I quite liked it that there was a sneak attack at the start as opposed to near the end, which would normally play a part in the finish. The camera work was quite off-putting. It was all over the place. It wasn't as good. I've got a note here that says the camera work's not as good as Roanoke Flair fan. Oh, Jesus. Not as good as Roanoke Flair fan. That's quite difficult to say.
It is.
But this match was right up my alley. They were just pummeling each other, left, right, and centre. The point that was it Dusty put the figure 4 on Flair. Mm-hmm. That was it seemed a bit out of place in amongst all this chaos that was happening, and especially next because you've got Wahoo and Tully just absolutely laying into each other on one side of the ring, and then Dusty tries to put a figure 4 on Flair. I thought it was a good match. I could have done without Wahoo pinning Tully, because Tully's not Wahoo's priority at this point. You might not want to have Dusty pinning Tully just now, but Tully getting the win over Wahoo or Flair getting the win over Wahoo. Wahoo doesn't need the win over Tully Blanchard at this point in time, considering his big programs with Jimmy Garvin.
Yep. Well, wait until September, Colin. There'll be a hot program with Wahoo, so you got a bunch of months left on Wahoo until September with Tully. So. Can't
wait till that point in summer 2024 when we get there. But I went 2.75 on this one as well. I think again it plays into Wahoo's strengths in 1986 where he's better in a fight as opposed to a straight up wrestling match. But yeah, I thought it was good.
All right, makes a lot of sense. So I respect your 2 3/4. Again, my 3 1/4. By the way, you got to say that they have really done a nice job for being an undercard feud. They've done a really good job building Wahoo and Garvin, which we're going to see more of that later on tonight in another match, which it's just really good mid-card build, which is great. Not a bad match to open up with at all. And for a house show, I would have been pretty entertained. All right, our second match is Ron Garvin versus Arn Anderson, who we have seen face off on TBS now 2 times for the TV title. Well, this is also for the TV title. So Garvin is selling his injured hand, and it's taped up, so I like the symmetry for the feud here at a house show. Lots of stalling by Arn as he tries to avoid the hands of stone as he bails outside often. You can also clearly hear the guy filming this is maybe of the country variety and yells, "Get him, Garvin," quite a bit. We skip to the 10-minute mark, and Garvin misses a knee, and Arn goes to town on it. I think Arn gets some really nice knees into the thigh area. Garvin fights back with chops and punches and a sleeper, stomps to the head and Arn's hand. Arn attacks Garvin's injured hand, but Garvin escapes, and then Garvin goes for a body slam, but sells the injured hand, and he can't hold Arn up, and Arn falls on top for a close pin. Arn back on the hand. I'll always love when an Anderson goes after a body part, just simplistic wrestling, just really great stuff. Arn just looks savage as he goes after it. There's 1 minute left. Arn continues on the hand. 15 seconds, Garvin reverses a whip, and he hands a stone to Arn with his injured hand, and Garvin collapses, and we have a draw. I thought this was a really great stiff, limb work showcase a little bit. I mean, I could see why some people wouldn't like it just because there's a lot of limb work. But it also continues the Garvin hand angle. I actually went 3 stars. I actually enjoyed this one quite a bit, even though it was cut. But I thought it was really good. Colin, what did you think of this?
This was a match that I didn't have many notes for. I just sat back and watched these two have a really, really good hard hitting match. It was a fun watch. I've got a note about the man in the crowd as well. I didn't quite catch the get him Garvin, but I did hear him at one point going, "Arn, you're a swine. Hey Arn, your mum's a whore."
I did not catch that.
I'm like, that escalated a lot quicker than I thought it was going to go. But interesting crowd interactions aside, this was a really good match. Lived up to the expectations that I thought, and I try not to go in because a lot of times we've been let down by going in thinking a match is going to be great. And it really lets us down. I'm thinking back to the Midnight Express and Fantastics match from World Class, where I think we were all quite disappointed in. But this one lived up to all the expectations. I've gone 3 stars on this one as well, Sean. I thought it was really. I was in between 2.75 and 3 for a lot of the time, but right at the very end, I thought it was slightly better than the first match we watched. So it has to be 3. But excellent stuff again for these two.
Yeah, 3 for 3 on Garvin Anderson matches we watched so far, at least for me and Colin. Scott, what'd you think of this?
Yeah, it's a clean sweep. I gave it 3 stars as well. I really liked how there was a bunch of limb work in this match, surprisingly.
Wow, and you're not real limb work. You're not a real limb work kind of guy.
I know, but I was really liking how Arn was working the leg and then he was working the arm. Just like a total Anderson trope, we always hear about as well. And I also heard someone say something. I heard an old lady scream out, "Break his goddamn neck."
Good old Charlotte. Good old North Carolina.
I heard that one as well.
Yes. So I was like, wow, okay, that's like the old ladies that you would hear about like on podcasts or shoot interviews, like screaming stuff like that. But no, I thought Garvin, I know, Sean, you're the big Garvin fan, but after seeing him with Flair and Arn, he's had some pretty good matches that I've been entertained by, and he's very believable. Don't put a microphone in his hand, just let him fight. I think he would do great if he had a manager. He would be even better. I know he ends up winning the world title down the line, but I just go back to when he's on his, Canadian tuxedo and he's spouting about something being a trucker, but it was like when in between the ropes, he's great.
Yeah, I don't think we've watched one bad Garvin match on this podcast, and it is a shame because he can't talk, and because he can't talk, that's really his downfall. But we have a long list of matches and Garvin to talk about in the probably next 30 years we do this pod based on how it's outlayed. But yeah, so definitely another great match, 3 stars. Garvin and Anderson can't do any wrong for any of us, so look forward. Hopefully, maybe one day we'll see more. I know we'll get more of them at minimal when we get to 1987, but I'm sure we'll have some stuff in between as well. All right, so our third match from this house show and our final match from this house show. I'll tell you what, man, one thing I've definitely uncovered here, or we've uncovered, is there are a lot of Magna TA versus Nikita house show matches, and here we have yet another one for the United States title. And again, the thing that keeps blowing my mind is we're in April, and they're big big angle doesn't really come until the summer, which it's just amazing how long this is built up to. So anyway, so they collide mid-ring on shoulder blocks until TA takes Nikita down with a stiff forearm. Then we cut the TA working Nikita's arm, so this one is cut. So I assume that, like the other matches we've seen, they kind of cut out maybe the boring stuff. They roll outside, and TA throws Nikita's shoulder into the post. There's an axe handle to the arm off the top rope. TA goes for the pin, but Nikita kicks out with force and head to TA in the gut, sending him reeling. Nikita attacks him outside. Nikita with a bear hug and a headlock. Nikita goes for a cobra clutch, and TA slips down and kicks Nikita off. There's more bear hug that TA powers out of with a hip toss with force, which I thought looked really good. Nikita charges TA, and TA moves. Nikita collides with the turnbuckle, and then Nikita charges again, and TA moves, and Nikita stumbles out of the ring. TA gets a nice little running stiff kick to the back of Nikita's head off the ring apron, and because of a little ball of fire, and hits a belly-to-belly with Nikita's leg, knocking the shit out of Tommy Young, of all people, and sending him outside with force. TA covers. There's no ref. TA goes after Tommy Young, and Nikita clobbers TA with a chain. Young comes in, and we get a 3 count. And if I'm at this house show, I'm like, holy shit, I've seen a moment. But then a second ref comes in, and the decision is reversed. Nikita attacks TA and sends refs into each other. TA fires back. Nikita in the ring post, and TA says something on the mic that I can't really hear. Maybe you guys did, and Nikita walks away. Not bad, and I do like that on these house show matches, they're changing them up. We've seen steel cage matches. Now we've seen this, and they're always doing something different. This one I kind of like because I know we shit on Tommy Young a lot in these false finishes, but again, if I'm at a house show and I'm just now seeing TA versus Nikita for the first time, I feel like I got a title change, and then he swerved me. You know what? I probably don't care in 1986, unlike I do in 2022. So I had a hard time with this one. I ended up going 2.5 because I ultimately did like it. But yeah, nothing great, just kind of maybe a standard house show 2.5 for me. So Scott, what'd you think?
I thought, sorry, Callum, don't hate me. I thought this was another in their
Oh my God, here we go.
long line of boring matches that just gets hot at the very end, but I have to sit through like 10 minutes of bullshit before I get there. I did like how they added the extra wrinkle of Ivan being in the shark cage. But it's, after being so like hyped up when Nikita and Magnum as a kid, seeing this, it's like, wow, these guys really only had like 5 moves of doom, and one of them's a bear hug.
You didn't like the belly to belly spot? I thought that.
No, I did like that, but leading up to it, like I have to get there and see that. I'm not a big fan of, but I did like Nikita hitting Magnum with the rope hat, and I really thought we did have a title change. And then Tommy Young, of course, reverses the decision because he's the worst ref on the planet. So I went 1 3/4 on this.
Okay, 1 3/4. All right, Colum, do you agree or disagree?
I agree with you, Sean. The matches, yes, there's been some variety, and they try and change them.
I think they're trying to figure out what works as they build to the like crescendo of where they're going, and I think they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're knowing where they go, they need to work out some kinks, but they also need to work out some ways of getting a bit of variety into their matches, and a lot of the time they're a bit they're much of a muchness, and a lot of the times, but I can appreciate what they're trying to do. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. You're never going to get, at this point in time, I don't think we're going to start getting 5-star classics because they are sort of trying to work it out. But I didn't think it was bad. I didn't find it boring, because there is other, like, I've been bored to tears watching some matches before. I've been bored to tears watching some matches for this. But I didn't find it boring. It was like I'm finding it difficult to rate, so I think I'm having to go sort of middle of the road. I don't think it's good enough to hit the 2.5, but I think it's probably, I think 2 2.25 might be fair for it.
Yeah, and again, I always tend to go higher on these house show matches, knowing that they're 1986 house show matches, and we don't get house show matches like we see, so I always tend to go higher on these for some reason, and I don't know why.
But also I think you're right. You've seen there is, and they've not, the Dusty finish hasn't become played out for us yet. And I think you do have the added. It was like the Buddy Landell one that we watched from whenever in 1985. I rated it higher because you got the visual of Buddy winning the title. I think having a moment like that can sort of, maybe that swayed me as well. I think that can compensate for a match not being that good, or not being as good as it could be, should I say?
Yep. So, but I also, what I do like is, I think this is our 5th or 6th match we've watched with these two at a house show. I do like to see the evolution of trying to figure out where they're going, and I almost feel like these house shows are test runs for them of where the summer program's going to go. So, not knowing that that's what they did when we're young kids, for me now, or for you guys who weren't even born, obviously, but it's kind of cool to see that evolution, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and hope when we get to summer we actually get the bangers we're craving between these two. But all right, cool. So that'll take us out of the house show, and now we're going to go straight into April 19th, and we got a lot of matches that we're going to talk about tonight. I think most of these are matches, and we only actually have 2 promos to talk about on tonight's show.
But the promos are bangers.
Well, we'll get to that because we kind of crapped on one Mr. Ric Flair on the last episode, so I look forward to hearing your thoughts on that one. But we're going to go to Mid-Atlantic. This is from April 19th, 1986, and it is Jimmy Garvin taking on a good hand, Sam Houston. Garvin comes out in his very shiny blue sequin outfit with Precious, and the first note I made is nothing screams Crockett wrestling like a man in sequins and long curly hair, because that's not very typical of your Crockett. Houston, as always, on fire to start with cartwheels and drop kicks, which I was kind of laughing a little bit. Miraculously, again, here's Wahoo McDaniel, who's on commentary. I thought, like I said earlier, they've done a really nice job building this feud. Houston misses an elbow and Garvin goes to town on him, but Houston keeps fighting back. Houston's always a really good face in peril. Garvin drops Sam throat first on the top rope. Then there's a body slam. Crowd, as always, is absolutely batshit insane for Houston comebacks, which, again, is still an anomaly to me. But Garvin heads him off at every pass as he tries to fight back. Sam gets a roll-up, but Precious pulls him off. Sam goes after Precious, and then Garvin gets a savage knee to Sam's back. He throws Sam over the top rope and is DQ'd. Garvin beats Sam up outside. Then he drags Sam inside. Wahoo comes in, and Precious sprays hairspray in his eyes. And then there's an impressive it's a very impressive brain buster, because Wahoo's a really big guy. It's a really cool angle where Garvin gets a brain buster. I really like Garvin's brain busters. I think they look really, really great. Garvin walks out as Houston attends to Wahoo. I thought this was another really fun match with a great, simple after angle. And again, I tend to rate these kind of weekend TV shows a little higher than maybe I should, just because, we didn't really get stuff like this in WWF. I went 2.5, not only for the match, but also the post angle, and also for the freaking brain buster on Wahoo. Like, Garvin got that big dude up and dropped him on his head, and I loved every minute of it. So, Colin, I'll go to you first.
I completely agree with you about the crowd. They're absolutely. I say it almost every time we do a match from the Mid-Atlantic TV, but the crowd is absolutely insane again. And you're right, they absolutely love Sam Houston. He has them eating out the palm of his hand, because no matter what he does, they will cheer for him. At one point, I do have a note saying that thank God for the crowd, because they are drowning out Wahoo's commentary. They're that loud.
Well, that was an unfortunate circumstance they had to do to get this angle over, unfortunately. But yeah.
Oh no, that's that's fine. They do what they need to do. I would always have Garvin doing the majority of the talking, as we've seen from some of the promos in the last that we've dealt with the last couple of episodes. The match itself, I've gone 2 on it. I felt it was. I mean, it wasn't a bad match. Far from it. We had 2 guys who are more than competent in the ring, but it was just, it was just a vehicle to get a confrontation between Wahoo and Garvin, and almost a vehicle to get Wahoo this massive cheer, because he was saving Sam, who the crowd absolutely adore. I don't know if the pop was more for the fact that their man was being saved, as opposed to it being Wahoo that's doing the save. That being said, the post match was excellent. It's probably a 2-star match with a 4-star post match. With the blinding angle, I thought it was the partially blinding angle with the spray in the eyes. I thought the match was almost an afterthought to get to the post match, but when you got to the post match, it was excellent.
All right, what did you think of the Brainbuster?
Oh, it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Particularly because who it was on, but yeah, it was.
That's what I was waiting for. Okay, very good. Scott, what'd you think?
Yeah, I just can't get over how over Sam Houston is with the crowd, and for them, I know he's he had been positioned in the past as the little brother to Dusty and Magnum. We haven't really seen that in quite a bit, so that was very nice to see. But he's always over. The crowd just loves him, and he looks like a damn green bean out there. I went to. What'd you say?
Damn green bean.
Yeah, I meant a string bean. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's good. I like it.
I went 2 stars as well, but the post match is awesome. Wahoo getting his ass beat. What's not to love?
Yeah, and again, I kind of put the angle into this as well. So again,
that makes total sense.
Yeah, so I'm scoring a lot higher than you guys are tonight. So we'll see if that continues or not. So from there, again, the angle with Garvin and Wahoo continues to just play itself out, which is really, really well done. So we're going to go over to Worldwide Wrestling, also up for 1986. We have a 6-man tag team match, and some might say this is kind of a jobber match, which technically it is. But what I do like is it is Manny Fernandez, who we get 2 matches of tonight because we haven't seen Bull in a while. Another Wahoo appearance on the same weekend, which I'm sure, Colin, if you were watching for 1986, you would have been a very happy man. And then the debuting Hector Guerrero, who we have seen in our Crockett Spotlight, but this is him officially. He is officially in Crockett Wrestling, has left the UWF, and he is in Jim Crockett Promotions. And these 6 are taking on Leo Burke, Black Bart, and good old Thunderfoot. So, again, this is Guerrero's debut in Crockett. But this match for me, guys, this is a straight up the Bull show. I mean, there's some good face in and out tags. I'll get their moment in the sun, but for me, I feel like the majority of this match is Bull. Guerrero gets a good monkey flip, and Wahoo chops the shit out of Bart. It's also good to see that our Mid-Atlantic champions are still treated like jobbers, just like Sam Houston was. Faces all take turns on Thunderfoot. Bull gets a flying burrito that ends with all 6 men in the ring. The crowd absolutely goes ape shit. Guerrero throws Thunderfoot into the ropes, and it really looks good, like a visual, like it's a T. Guerrero throws Thunderfoot in the ropes. Bull connects with a flying burrito just out of nowhere for 3. I thought this was a really fun 6-man. I absolutely love Manny Fernandez. We don't get enough of him. And we haven't seen him much in 3 months. And glad we at least get 2 matches tonight. I went a solid 2 on this for a weekend syndicated show match. And not being really technically a main event, even though you have your Mid-Atlantic champion on the other side of the fence. I thought it was a solid 2 stars. Even for a prelim match, I thought it was a nice showcase. So, Scott, I'll go to you first.
I went 1 3/4. I had stupidly thought that we had already seen Hector before because we had watched him before.
We did in the Crockett Spotlight. Yep.
Yeah, I just didn't realize that wasn't that was UWF. I just wasn't thinking because I really like that tag team match. I want to see more of him. You're not wrong. I have the match on right now as we've been talking, and Raging Bull comes out like a house of fire, taking on Black Bart. Like you said, he has a nice little monkey flip as well to Black Bart. Sends him to the ropes. Mm-hmm. And it's just such a fun match. But I don't know. I'm on Wahoo overload already, so I think he was barely in the match.
1 3/4 is fair. I don't dispute that. Yeah.
But it's just the man is in a 6-man and can barely do anything because he's just out. Talk about a man past his prime. He just got tagged in, and it's all he can do to walk over to Thunderfoot.
Chop, 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 chop.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yep. All right, Colin, how about you?
I just want to say, 1.75 for a match where Wahoo can't do anything, is struggling because he's past his prime, quote Scott Shiflett, and he struggles to walk the length of himself, is fair. I go 1.75 on a 2 out of 3 falls match where he's breathing out of his arsehole after 30 seconds.
That match was way better than
he then has to proceed to go another 45 minutes with poor Ric Flair, whose back is already breaking because of a plane crash. His back was broken, having to carry that big fucker around for 45 minutes. And that's unfair. I just wanted people to know who are listening the rank hypocrisy that comes from the higher-ups at the NWA Crock and Roll podcast.
Okay, what do you think about the match?
That was good. I quite enjoyed it. My first note is finally getting to see some Manny, which is always good. It seems like it's been ages since we've seen him, and because since the turn of the year, we haven't seen
much of him since Starrcade. That is correct. Yep.
My overall comment on it was a really fun match to watch. I would like to have seen a little more Hector and a little less Wahoo, but it is a match that you're going to try and showcase your three baby faces. There was a ragtag bunch of heels on the other side of the ring. Again, strange booking on from a Wahoo perspective. He's in a match with 5 guys who, like, as good as much as I'd want to see Guerrero and Manny, as much as I'm happy to see them, he's good. He's on his own wee island. There's 5 guys who are thrown together at random with no other stories going on other than they get in the ring every week and they try and put on good matches. And Wahoo's got his thing going with Garvin. He just seemed to stick out like a sore thumb. And he doesn't even get the pin. I thought if you're going to try it, if Wahoo's the only one in a feud, he would at least be the guy who wins the match for his team. Strange. Obviously, it might just be that they wanted to put Wahoo out to be on the winning side and keep his name out there. But if it was me, I would have had him take the get the pin myself. But that's why I'm sitting here, and Jim Crockett Jr. and his team, Dusty, made millions and millions of dollars a year. But yeah, I will. I went 2 1/4 on it actually. I thought it was. Wow. I thought it was a really fun match. And even with Wahoo in it, he didn't. As much as say a little less Wahoo would have done me. He didn't drag it down like he has been known to drag down other matches he's in.
The Bull definitely. Hey, you had 2 Wahoo matches over 2 stars tonight, Callum. That might be a first. 2 in a row.
I told you guys in the chat, this has all happened since I had COVID.
I actually think it's because we have others covering what Wahoo can't do. And again, Bull was just freaking nuts in this match. He's really great. So really good stuff from Bull.
Everyone's saying the Pfizer was to so Bill Gates could keep a track of you. I think it was so Bill Gates could make me say things about Wahoo that I would never have said before I had the vaccine.
You still say the same things about Wahoo. You're just covering up because of who's around him. So I know you still truly don't like Wahoo, and you're doing a nice job of selling that. So
I'll never ever watch that Flair match again.
All right. Well, don't worry. We got plenty of Wahoo to come in the coming months for you to watch. All right. So with that, we're going to shift gears and we're going to go to 419 Saturday night. And 2 promos. The only promos we have tonight. With Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, kind of the last-minute sell going into the Crockett Cup, which we'll talk about on our next episode. And if you remember from our last episode, one Colin McDougal was kind of over what I call Flair and his shit, with him just basically calling out how many women he wants to bang and blah, 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 blah. So the first time anyone's really called out Flair on his bullshit, which we talked about it for over a year about Flair, and it's the first time anyone's really said, you know what? I'm just kind of fed up. Get to the point. So I'll be curious to see how you feel about this one tonight, because I'm just going to be full disclosure. I love both these promos tonight for a specific reason. So Flair comes out. Obviously, this has been taped as the afternoon of the Cup is already over at this point, based on one of theirs. And Tony and Dave says someone tonight will walk out with the world title. Girls love Flair, as we actually see one giving him the FBIs as they cut to the camera, which is great. He says he's got his jet outside, and in 20 minutes, He and Turner are getting in the jet and taking off to New Orleans. Says, if you're watching now in New Orleans, but then he turns around and says, if you're watching now in New Orleans, I'm 42,000 feet coming in now. Coming in looking fine with women on left and women on the right. He says, Dusty, you got butterflies. Don't feel bad. The joint's going to be packed tonight, and I do not do jobs in front of 70,000 people. The original Shawn Michaels comment there, which I absolutely love. He goes, I will take care of it as I can. After I beat up Dusty and the Hyatt Regency, anything you want on the world champion, I'm coming, styling and profiling. So then we cut over to Dusty later on in the night. Dusty's out. Tony says, New Orleans on fire for one reason. Is Dusty and Baby Doll going for the world title? Dusty talks about the Hyatt Regency and Flair saying everything on the world champion, but not to flaunt his credit card, as Dusty will win. Flair don't care about any of Dusty don't care about any of Flair's bullshit. This is not a game show. He don't do no jobs in front of 70,000 people either. So where do we stand now, Flair, is what he says. Dusty just rambles more about Flair's bullshit and how about it isn't a game show. 70,000 people. Stand still now. World title comes to me, and I'll be buying champagne and Baby Doll new clothes. Dusty legit seemed really pissed off here. We've seen him in the past where Flair has done promos, and then Dusty came out later, seemed really pissed off. And Baby Doll just kind of stands there and looks like she's freaking sniffing the good stuff or whatever because she's just high as a kite. So, Scott, I will go to you first. What did you think of these two promos?
I love these promos. We're shooting from the hip with both of these guys saying
a little bit of a shooting miss, I think. Yep.
That they're not going to job in front of 70,000 people. Spoiler alert, there wasn't 70,000 people, so you guys don't have to worry about that. Hell of a promo. I love Flair basically making sure he has sex tonight, which, wasn't probably going to be a problem anyway, with saying what name drop in the hotel so they can all party together. And like you said, Dusty seems as pissed off as he was when he was cussing out the fans that one time. But I love how he said the world title's coming to him. He's like, you don't have to worry about paying for it. I just loved it. And the adding of the realness, because this felt very real, because it probably was at this time. Both of these guys, not having animosity towards each other, both saying, yeah, we're not going to job in front of 70,000 people. It's like, I really want to see this match and see how it goes. And I'm sure it's in a future watch, but it was just like, damn, I just loved it. Flair's like, if you're watching now in New Orleans, I'm 40,000 feet in the air coming for you. That's like, God.
Well, I like how he kept summoning.
So cool.
And another Crockett trope, I love how the inside rib, I'm coming. They do this a lot where he says, hey, I'm coming in style and coming with women. It's total Crockett trope that they do this. I think it's a rib. It's a rib for sure. But yeah, so I definitely enjoyed it too. Colin, how about you? Mr. Critical on the last episode of Ric Flair, so I'm curious.
Some may say Mr. Critical, others may say Mr. Influential, because I got the 3U to come round to my way of thinking by the end.
It made us think, made us ponder.
We might have, in these two promos, we might have seen the beginning of the deterioration of the Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes relationship. Because you guys are right. Dusty was visible. Yeah, he was visibly annoyed. You could tell that he was annoyed, and I don't think he took kindly to it. I'm not sure that Flair was meant to say that he doesn't do jobs in front of 70,000 people.
Oh, I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure that was a shoot.
And I think this could be the beginning of the end here, boys, because Flair clearly saying something like that when in 1986, there's not going to be a lot of people watching that know, if any, that knows what he's meaning there, apart from Dusty Rhodes and everybody in the back. I think this could be a turning point in the Flair Dusty relationship. Flair's promo was different to the usual. This one was about wrestling with only a little bit of shagging involved. It was a pleasant change. And my first thought, obviously, when both men are saying that they're going to refuse to do the job in front of 70,000 people, my first thought was, oh, surely this calls for a triple threat match. But in 1986, it has fuck finish written all over it. But I look forward to seeing the match that comes before said fuck finish. Yeah, I thought it was really, really good. Two really, really good promos. But the best part of it all was David rocking a lovely Augusta National green jacket. Obviously celebrating Jack Nicklaus's big win the week before, just down the road at the Masters.
Yes, I did not bring up the jacket or David Crockett in this, but yeah, I think also for this, really good final sell for the Crockett Cup. Like I don't know how many people they're going to get to New Orleans at their 6:05 hour when in New Orleans. Well, I guess New Orleans has the time difference, so it's kind of a last minute sell to get them there. The day tournament had already happened, but they still had the nighttime. So we will definitely see that match in a future episode because I have every single match with the exception of a few first round matches for us to watch when we get to the Crockett Cup. So we'll talk about that on our next episode. All right. So our next match, very match heavy. This is our sixth match of the night. Kind of a treat here on this Saturday night show with everybody in New Orleans. We get Arn Anderson versus Manny Bull Fernandez for the TV title. And I brought this up on our last show, guys. This is kind of a big deal because literally a year earlier in 1985, on our very first episode of this pod, we talked about the Arn Anderson and Ole Anderson angle of them coming together and Ole turning on Thunderbolt Patterson. And Bull was a big part of that in the match. And that's where Ole officially turned heel. So kind of nice to revisit that. And it's kind of a nice little, I don't even know if they timed it up or synced it that way. I don't think they did. But this is officially, we're a year into Crockett wrestling, even though we got a long way to go still. But this is great. So Dusty and Baby Doll come back out. Dusty says he knows a lot about the TV title and a lot about Anderson. Baby Doll says she's getting all lined up for New Orleans. And if he comes back and she's not there, don't worry. She has his bag, etc. And she's heading to the airport. Says New Orleans. Once again, someone else says, New Orleans, here we come. And kisses Dusty on the cheek. And she is out. Arn yells at Rhodes from the ring. Crockett has a very enthusiastic intro. Big moment for us in this match, like I said on this pod. And like we said, we talked about it. So this match is also a 20-minute time limit. Dusty thinks we will get a new champ tonight. I also like that they brought up Bull and Dusty were former tag team champions at one time, and they lost the belts right before we started this podcast in April of '85. Arn complains a lot about Bull using his bullshit karate. Arn takes several powders throughout the match as Bull dominates him left and right. Bull gets a nice body press fake out and spot where he actually leaps behind Anderson and clobbers him. It's really cool how agile Bull is for a man his size too. Arn is very frustrated as Dusty starts breaking down wrestling as football, which is lost on me, of course, because I don't watch football. Dusty is giving hell to Arn for stalling, and Arn tells him to shut up. Bull does some arm and leg work and gets a great leg takedown that Arn sells like a champ. Dusty continues to yell, break it off and crack it. Tony says Arn getting the taste of his own medicine, and then there's long limb work on Arn's leg. Dusty said Willie Nelson will be in New Orleans. So I know we're all excited for Willie to be in New Orleans, which I do not believe he is. I love the pop backwards that Bull does while Arn's leg is intertwined with his. I thought it looked legit painful. Bull gets a figure 4 at the 10-minute mark. There's a great leg snap off on the second rope by Bull, then a half crab. Arn takes control, selling his leg. He throws Bull in the air and down to the mat on an Irish whip. On an Irish whip. There's a body scissors as Arn taps his hand on the time limit coming, which I really like because Arn was trying to get that clock. Arn hits his knee to the gut, and Bull then hits a nice jumping clothesline. Bull with a flying clothesline off the second rope, a flying burrito, and the bell rings right at 2. And then JJ comes out and distracts Dusty, and then Tully runs in, and he and Arn attack Bull. Garvin comes out, he punches Arn. Bull takes out Tully, and Dusty takes out JJ, and the faces stand tall. And we have a time limit draw. I really liked the limb work, and again, I thought it was an amazing showcase for the Bull. I actually went 3 stars on it. Really, really solid main event, and it went to time limit, and I wasn't bored one bit. So, Colin, I will go to you first.
You have redeemed yourself by making this a bull-heavy show after giving me so much Wahoo. Even though I've not minded the Wahoo, but you cannot beat a bit of Manny Fernandez. And even going back to as you mentioned, the first time that we watched Manny on episode number 1 all those months ago, he's consistently been one of the guys that I've, along with Arn Anderson, who's Arn Anderson, sorry, didn't really surprise me. I knew how good Arn was. I didn't appreciate how good Manny Fernandez was. And almost, as you say, the anniversary celebration match, didn't disappoint. I actually went three and a quarter on it. Because I've had it on again, and I've had it on again here in the background, just to just watch over it again, just in case because I didn't have a lot of notes for it.
By the way, Colin, you convinced me. I'm going to go 3 and a quarter on it too.
Yeah, because I've got it on in the background here. I didn't take a lot of notes on it, because it's one of these ones again. I just get sucked into it. But having it on sort of in the background here with no commentary, no crowd or anything, just to see, and it's every bit as good as it was the first time I watched it. So I didn't get caught up on it. But yeah, it's just these guys are just so consistently good. It's actually unreal sometimes. But yeah, 3 and a quarter and worth every single star.
All right. So here's what I've learned. Arn Anderson, Ronnie Garvin, and the Bull. So far, batting 1,000 pretty much on anything we've ever watched him in. So that's pretty interesting to me. Scott, what'd you think of this?
I love this match. I don't know, like, if I was just like in a certain mood, but I was loving the limb work that you're
really liking the limb work tonight. That's not you.
You're rubbing off of me, Sean. It's horrible.
Maybe.
But yeah, no, I'm just giving you a hard time. Everyone's already said you corrupted me. But I just love Manny working the leg, and like Arn, it's usually Arn working a body part. And he's like basically in survival mode, like trying to just get this time limit draw. And there was a time where like every time Arn gets something, Manny just hits him in the leg, and it's like back to square one. And it's just like a nice little role reversal from what we've seen with Arn usually being the dastardly heel attacking the limb, and now it's happening to him, and he's on the defensive the whole time, and I just loved it. I loved like Manny putting in the figure 4, and you just see him like losing his mind with it, and I loved how when Arn hurt himself when he actually used his knee as like an offensive weapon, and you see him just go down immediately after that. I loved it. Time limit draw, which is nice. I mean, it's better than him just pinning him, but it was very good. I went 3 and a quarter as well. I love like Tully running out and then Ronnie Garvin running out. It's just like, I just love how Crockett, I feel like I say this every month and probably sound like a broken record, but it's true. Just bleeds all these storylines together, and it feels so natural and not like something with like WWF at the time where Hogan was getting beat down and you're like, no one's coming out to help him because it's Hogan.
Yeah.
So
very different. Like he just gets beat up and nobody tends to help. Right. So yeah, really good stuff here. So really, really great on the night of the Crockett Cup we're on. Really get a nice TV main event. Again, a great showcase for Bull. And Arn doesn't disappoint as always. So go out of your way to check this one out on Saturday night. It's definitely a nice little watch. All right, so gents, we have 2 more matches to talk about tonight before we close it out, and we are at our Crockett Cup Spotlight, where we are going to focus on members of 2 different teams. Our first match, Mike Miller and Bobby Jaggers, who will be teaming together in the Crockett Cup in the first round. Much to Colin's chagrin, they will face Mark Youngblood and Wahoo McDaniel in round 1 of the Crockett Cup, so we'll talk a little bit about that match. But I could not find a match where they team together. However, I did find a match from January 26, 1985, where they actually wrestled each other. And I think it's safe to say between the 3 of us, I'm actually sorry I found this match, but we will jump right into it and talk about the match a little bit. So apparently this feud has been ongoing for a long time. Again, this is from January 26, 1985 from Portland Wrestling. Don Owens is out, who is the owner of Portland Wrestling, and he has a new $3,500 Northwest belt he just got from Federal Express to give Jaggers, as apparently Miller had destroyed the last one. Jagger yells at Miller, saying he's going to take $3,500 out of Miller's butt, and says the words daddy and brother a lot, which, again, when you have nothing else to say, you say daddy and brother when you're a 1980s wrestler. This is 2 out of 3 falls. Jagger looks like a poor man, great value Dusty Rhodes, Buddy Rose hybrid. And Miller looks like a wrestler who the movie The Wrestler would be based on. So hopefully you guys get both those references. 2 out of 3 falls. So let's jump into fall, and we'll talk. I'll go through all 3 falls, and then I will allow you guys to probably say what I'll say is meant. The announcer is awful and boring, so let's be very clear. This announcing is all sorts of bad. Lots of stalling to get out of the gate. Jaggers does get some nice stiff punches on Miller, and then he gets elbows. And again, I swear he's just following the Dusty Rhodes program of trying to get over. Miller rakes the eyes and takes control. Lots of head holds and knees and punches on offense. Commentator needs some 5 o'clock energy because he's putting me to sleep. Bobby gets back in control with elbows and another head hold. And then what's also interesting is I noticed this ref uses his opposite hand to cut pinfalls, which was very odd to me. Then we get a damn neck hold that felt like forever, more elbows. Then we get a running clothesline, and Jagger pins Miller in fall 1. Fall 2, more stalling by Miller. He hides in the corner, and the ref calls Miller a corner wrestler. The announcer, which I don't really understand what that means, that he's a corner wrestler. Then we get another elbow and head hold and then a sleeper. Miller finally gets some offense, and it's choke and kicking. There's a surfboard to the back, more elbows by Jagger, another chin lock. Commentators babbling about Sergeant Slaughter coming into the territory. Just a real monotone douche. Then Miller works Jagger's arm, including biting. Jaggers fights back with his good hand. Miller kicks Jaggers in the head off the ropes and pins in the win, fall number 2. So we are tied. Fall 3. Miller attacks before the bell in the third fall, knees and punches. Jaggers fights back with, you guessed it, more elbows. Jaggers misses an elbow, and Miller kicks him out of the ring. Miller grabs the new belt and runs into the crowd. This has been the most excited this commentator has been all night. Jaggers is irate. Miller is hiding in the corner. Sorry, guys, I have to laugh. In the back of the building. It looks like he's actually taking a piss on the wall. Bobby runs to the back, but the ref and security stop him. Miller goes up to the podium, says he doesn't owe nobody nothing. Bobby runs to the podium, and Miller is gone. And I'm assuming that Jaggers had won the match by count out at the end. I'm not really sure. So here's the other thing. This match, 2 out of 3 falls, was 30 minutes. It was so bad and so boring, and maybe some of the worst commentary you will ever hear in your life. I'm only going a quarter star on this, and gentlemen, I think that's actually a gift, and I will go to you first, Scott.
That shit sucked. All of it. It was terrible. It was 30 minutes wasted, and it was so bad. Like, if I was a kid flipping through the channels and I came across this, you would not be talking to me, Sean. You'd be talking to someone else.
30 fucking minutes.
It was bad. Guys, for you guys listening, this was 3 different YouTube links that Sean sent to us. 3 different ones. I don't even know why there was 3 different ones. It could have been done in one, but it was so much stalling. Like, not even the good Memphis stalling where they're riling up the crowd. This was just like, we don't know what we're going to do here, brother, dude, or whatever the guy was saying. And, like, the only thing that was really cool was Mike Miller hit Jaggers across the face with, like, his boot across the face that looked rough. That was the only thing. Everything else was stalling. My notes are literally, Miller powders again, so much stalling. This sucks. God, can this end? So bad and boring. Mike Miller stole the belt and gets counted out. This sucks. Dud. In parentheses, I strongly dislike Sean for this.
All right, so let's be fair. Sometimes for the craft that is this podcast, you have to take the good with the bad.
This was the very bad.
It was the very bad. And again, I didn't go a dud. I went a quarter, but I also said that was a gift. I actually, you know what's interesting? I think the angle is great with the belt, and I got hope at the beginning. I thought, okay, this is going to be really good. And then I totally got deflated as the match went on because I think the angle was pretty good. But in the end, holy shit, you aren't kidding. This is so bad. Just bad, bad, bad. All right, Colin, I assume you feel the same way.
I had high hopes when the YouTube description described this match as an awesome 2 out of 3 falls non-title match. I should start doing clickbait like that on our YouTube videos because that's just lies. The commentary was boring. It was nonsensical. Case in point, eccentric headache number Jaggers. Okay, 1 doesn't make sense. 2, fuck right off. Chinlock City bitch. That's my next one. The crowd were deathly silent after about 5-10 minutes of this match. The two guys have just killed them off completely. The commentator I've got here couldn't even be arsed. He sounds like he would rather be anywhere else than describing this match.
In all fairness, would you blame him though?
No, not at all. He talked more about Sergeant Slaughter and Kendo Nagasaki potentially fighting each other than the match itself. It didn't need to be half an hour long. Considering that the middle 25 minutes you could put on a fucking GIF and just watch it over and over again for 25 minutes, you wouldn't miss anything. The match was so bad it actually offended me. I've got a note going, this match is actually offensive to me. This is possibly one of the worst matches I have ever seen in my life. I will always excuse a bad match because it's possible that two guys or two girls will go in there and try. They will try their best and they will just maybe not click. They'll not have chemistry or whatnot. That's okay. What is not okay is to produce 30 minutes of the most boring, turgid shite that these two produced. This is the biggest fucking dud you will ever get on this podcast.
Wow, I thought at minimal you would have gone a quarter on that. Wow.
Oh no, absolutely not. You've gone a quarter on it, and you have vastly overrated it, sir.
All right. Well, I typically do that on this show, but yeah, guys. I mean, I could listen. You know what? I'll go a dud too. The match is shit. Nobody should ever watch this match ever in their entire history. And the fact that these two are a team in the Crockett Cup and in the first round taking on Wahoo. Yeah, I don't know who booked that shit, but goddamn, pal, this is terrible, just terrible. So, all right, our next match and our final match of the evening is the Batten twins versus the Midnight Express, and this is interesting. This is from 11/21/1985. It is finals for the Central States Tag Team titles, and this is one I did not catch when we were on our way to Starrcade 85. This is right around Starrcade 85, and the Midnight Express were in the finals of the Central States Tag Team. Central States is an NWA territory, so. But yeah, I thought this was an interesting find. The camera work's pretty blurry. The Battens will be facing Sam Houston and Nelson Royal in round one of the Crockett Cup. So we will, again, talk about that on our next episode. So the match is joined in progress, and right from the start, one of the and by the way, they don't ever really call the Batten twins by their names because I don't think the announcer knows who the fuck is who. Right from the start, the Batten twin whisks a dropkick that Eaton sold flying out of the ring, which looked absolutely ridiculous. Later, one of the Battens and Condrey crisscross ring several times. That ends in absolutely nothing. They do it again, and Batten goes out of the ring after Cornette, goes back in, and Atomic drops Dennis into Bobby. At this point, I feel like I'm starting to see a little bit of a formula with the Midnight Express. Like, we see them against the Fantastics. We see them against the Rock and Roll Express, and I feel like there's always some hybrid version of the Rock and Roll Express. They're wrestling in the same style. This is really no different. At one point, Cornette distracts the ref. Bobby pulls one of the Battens out of the ring and throws them into the post. Midnight Express with their usual heel tag team work shenanigans. I love that the announcers, like I said earlier, only call each Batten the Batten versus no first name. Eaton misses a move, and one of the Batten tags the other Batten. He takes on both Expresses. The ref goes down. Cornette in accidentally hits Eaton instead of Batten with his racket. The ref up, and a shocking 3 count here that I can't believe that this close to Starrcade, a territory team has beaten the Midnight Express. Definitely a hidden kind of match in terms of the time frame, again, because it's Midnight Express right into Starrcade. But I also thought it was a great use of a big team to try and make another team in a territory. But again, the match, very sloppy, felt very house show. I struggled to go 1.5 on this. It wasn't very good at all. Colin, what did you think?
I don't think it was too bad.
Wow. See, I don't get it. I thought this was sloppy and just, you know what? I think I'm getting tired of seeing Midnight Express versus Rock and Roll Express kind of shenanigans with multiple teams. I think that's what I'm having an issue with.
Well, you've had too much. Well, when you have the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express, it is possible to have too much of a good thing, possibly. Because I see where you're coming from with that, because you're. Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express shenanigans works because of the two teams involved. It's not necessarily transferable to someone like the Batten twins. Mm-hmm. I thought it was fine. I mean, a Midnight Express match very rarely is going to be bad. Even the one that we mentioned, or I mentioned earlier on with the Fantastics at Texas Stadium, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. Is the only criticism you could have in that match. The crowd were insanely good, insanely loud when Crockett hits Eaton with a racket. It certainly got them on their feet. A bit off-putting with a completely dark crowd. All you saw was the ring. It was like watching one of those AWA shows where they had the psychedelic background because they couldn't get enough fans in the arenas. But I didn't think it was bad. A surprising finish in that you have a territory team beating the soon-to-be World Tag Team Champions. But at the same time, it was also, you could say it was expected because the Midnight Express aren't really going to hang around in Central States for too long, especially when they're on Crockett TV every week. So, but it was fine. I went 1.75 on it. I didn't think it was too bad at all.
Okay. And I went 1.5, so not too far off. Scott, what'd you think?
I'm shocked. I did not believe I was going to be the high man for this, but I surprisingly...
Oh my God, I don't get it. I don't understand.
I surprisingly enjoyed this match.
Goddamn,
goddamn, pal. But it felt like a squash, and then like the Batten twins get the win, which is kind of what I enjoyed about it. And I thought Cornette is great with like all the little stuff that he does. Like he hops on the ring, the Midnight Express double teams, or like the Midnight Express distracts the ref, and the other attacks the other attacks the Batten. So I really enjoyed that. Ref bump off of the leapfrog was something I had never seen before. It's like the ref was just right in the damn way, but that set up Cornette missing the tennis racket. So that's why I enjoyed it. And like the surprise Batten, I went 2.25 on this, surprisingly.
1.75, 2.25. It's again, I would also say it's probably, I guess in the end, I'll say it's house show. It's house show match is what it feels like a little bit, right? So, but yeah, big win for the Battens here, and it's kind of cool that we're ending this show tonight with the Battens' big win over one of the top seeds in the Crockett Cup and the World Tag Team Champions. So something to look forward to on our next episode. So awards tonight, this should be pretty simplistic because we only had 2 sets of promos. So I guess for us, I'll just go through it. So Crockett moment, this kind of like his little stroke out. I really don't know. I'll go to you, Scott. Do you have one? If not, it's okay because I know we're very match heavy tonight.
I guess the closest, I can't even remember if he was on the Arn at the end of the Arn match when we get the Donnybrook with all 4 involved. But yeah.
It's the end of the Arn match. Yep.
So maybe then, but like I'm not really remembering much from him, so that says a lot. Yeah. Might have to just be an A-list month.
All right. Well, I'm going with the brain buster on Wahoo McDaniel for putting up that big motherfucker. So okay. I'm going to do that one. Colin, how about you?
The end of the Jaggers Miller match for putting us out of our misery.
That's a good one too. All right, the Arn Anderson in the world, the best promo. I think you got to give it to Dusty and Flair both. I would think, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
All right.
I'm not gonna lay down in front of 70,000 people.
Yep. Yeah, I think that definitely wins it. The best angle this month, continuing angle, I am shockingly going to pick Wahoo and Jimmy Garvin.
I agree. I'm shocked. This is like when Valiant won.
Column?
I can't disagree with you. I think the post match of the Garvin Houston match takes it for that. I think that trumps anything else that we saw angle wise on this one. I thought it was excellent.
Well, Colin, if it makes you feel better, I mean, the reason why it's a great continuing angle is because Jimmy Garvin keeps beating the shit out of Wahoo.
Well, that is that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. All right. The Jimmy Valiant Award for worst match, hands down. I think we all agree. The 2 out of 3 Fall Shit Fest. We all on the same page with that?
100%.
Absolutely.
All right. The Magnum Award for best match. I think we all agree. Arn versus Fernandez.
Yes.
Has to be.
Okay. The Wahoo Award for the LVP. I'm going with both Jaggers and Miller on that one. Scott?
Yes.
Column?
Yes, but also can we throw in the commentator as well?
Correct. And then the Flair Award for MVP this month, I am going 100% with Manny Fernandez. Scott?
I'm going to go with Jimmy Garvin.
Okay, that makes sense too.
Ooh, good choice.
Because he also
makes sense. Yep.
He also attacked Wahoo at the start of the first match that we watched with that strap match as well. So he had his hands in multiple locations.
Makes 100% sense. Column.
Oh, it makes me feel so good to say this. MVP of the month, Manny Raging Bull Fernandez.
Yep. So hopefully we get to see more of Manny in the future. And that closes us out, guys, for our latest episode, number 39. And we, on our next episode, will be hitting the first round of the Crockett Cup. So we have finally made it. I look forward to our next episode number 40. But we have talked about all the teams in it. We have talked about all the feuds leading up to it. We all know what's going on. And now we finally get to it. That we can actually talk about our next episode. So before we go, Scott, anything you would like to plug?
Yeah, just check out all the pods here on the Quadra Pods. Everyone's doing great work, especially around WrestleMania time. I can be found on Twitter at Scott_Shufflet.
All right, and Colin?
You can find me temporarily on the special relations. We've got a few shows in the can whilst Rory enters the world of fatherhood, and then we'll take Rory will. The special relations itself will take a small hiatus for a couple of months over the summer, but we will have stuff in its place. I've been involved in a couple of episodes recently of Pedestal, which is a wonderful show from concept straight from the beautiful mind of Sean Kidd, and as it is the season, WrestleMania coming up. On the Place to Be Nation live watches will be available Saturday and Sunday. Place to Be or twitch.tv/Place to Be Nation. Place to Be Nation, if you search Place to Be Nation, all one word, on YouTube, facebook.com/PTBN live, and at PTBN YouTube on Twitter. And if you want to go back, if you miss it and you want to go back and listen to that and any of the previous live watches, they're all on YouTube for your listening pleasure.
Excellent. And I'll do a quick plug for that. So the last Twitch feed was the NWA Crockett Cup. Night 1 was me, Callum, and Ben. Night 2 was Callum, Dr. G, Scott, and myself. Really entertaining watch. Go back and listen to it with the commentary on. I did get a little bit of trouble for an inappropriate comment I might have made about a certain tag team partner for someone that was no longer with us. But it was overall, it was a very good analytical, good matches. Just go out of your way to listen to it. Colin does an amazing job putting these on. So really, really good. As for me, honestly, guys, right now, Crock and Roll is kind of where I'm at from a consistent standpoint. With real life and everything, you know, I've kind of missed a few pods here and there. So as of this recording, I don't really have anything scheduled because we're going into WrestleMania week. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing Mr. Shiflett. But as far as pods coming up, you can also, as Colin said, Pedestal. You can also hear me on YouTube Roulette, Highway to the Impact Zone, Chicken Salad. Scott and I also have Battlestar in the 25th Century over on the pop feed. Probably a little bit of a hiatus for that one for a little bit, at least for the next month or two. But go back and listen to our last episode where we talked gastric bypass surgery. Very serious pod that was, right, Scott? Very serious.
Yeah, actually, it was probably the most serious Battlestar pod we've ever done.
Yeah, so go back and listen
check it
to
out.
that. I thought it was a good one to go on a hiatus for a little bit. So go back and listen to that one. We'll pick that up at some point. And at some point, I don't know, probably by the time, not necessarily by the time you hear this, but probably a week or so after this, you'll start hearing Pop Goes to Couch talk about Moon Knight as that debuts, as of this recording, that debuts next week. So with that, I want to thank Colin McDougall and Scott Shiflett. And Dr. G, who's on assignment looking for the next great hand for 2022 NWA. I am Sean Kidd, and we will see you on episode number 40, where we will talk about the first round of the Crockett Cup. See you then, everybody.